is the fact that we have a president that is not interested in any type of compromise where he can bring the heads of the Republicans, the heads of the Democrats in the Senate and in the House together and force them to come to some type of compromise. The fact that he's not interested in a compromise, isn't that going to drag this thing out even longer? And how long do you think this thing could go on?
Well, first of all, I think it's going to last only about a week. I think by next week this will be over because at that point in time, people will start feeling pain, and then they'll be calling out to their senators, et cetera, and senators can't take that type of pressure. So I only think it's going to last about a week. There'll be some compromise on health care. Government will be reopened. But this is my fundamental problem with Democrats and Republicans alike. And the first is Donald Trump. Yeah, he's not a good leader. He's not going to be able to bring people together. But even more importantly than that, he actually thinks that it's a good thing that the government is shut down because he can go through and cut the things that he wants to cut. And that will be dealt with in the courts. While people are talking about health care and real life people, he's like, this consolidates more power with me. So that's first. But the other thing is, like, why do we have to have this deadline hanging over our heads every few months? Why can't Congress get its act together and budget like everyday Americans and say, this is how much money is coming in for the next 2 years. We're going to budget so we don't have to shut government down. And if we have a surplus, then we'll fill it. And if we have a deficit, then we need to go out there and raise more money. I don't understand why we have this government shutdown every few months.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing about Alfred, is just real quick, I just wanted to say that's the only thing that's going to stop Donald Trump is a bad economy, and then voters start to turn on him because as everything looking right now, it just seems like we're going into what do you call it? I can't not pronounce that.
Authoritarian.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. And you got to realize this last month, the month of September, the private sector created a negative 32,000 jobs. The month before that, it was a negative 6,000 jobs or so. And so you're not even creating jobs. So you have people's wages are decreasing. You're not creating jobs. Black unemployment for all your listeners is as high as it's ever been. And grocery prices are higher now than they were at this point in 2024. And so every indicator says that, you know, I don't know if this is how you make America great again, but it ain't looking too bright on my side.
Right. But Bakari, now his base isn't going anywhere. No matter how bad things get, the base that voted for him, his approval with them is never going to drop. So how do we counter that on the other side?
Well, the other side is you got to get your base excited. I mean, black voters and Hispanic voters and working women and working class voters, union voters. I mean, we actually have to talk to them and begin to talk to them about the things they care about. In the middle of the country is always going to be votes that can be won as long as you're talking about issues that matter. I mean, the number one issue for most Americans is affordability, period. I mean, they can't afford housing costs. They can't afford grocery prices. They can't afford their utilities. They can't afford their health care. Affordability is the number one issue. And so that is what Americans should be, or congresspersons and Democrats should be talking about day in and day out, affordability.
Bakari, thank you for joining us this morning. We got the one and only CNN's own Bakari Sellers. It's Rick Smiley Morning Show. All right, y'all, we're talking politics with attorney Bakari Sellers today. So let me ask you something. How do you really feel deep down inside about where we are going as a country? And, what do, we as black people really need to be aware of with everything that's going on?
I mean, look, I am very hyper-focused on my family.
Because I'm scared. I'm scared, Bakari. I'm scared.
Well, you should be scared. I think you should be scared. But I'm also extremely hopeful. I want people to focus on themselves and our own community because only we can get us out of the doldrums that we find ourselves in. That's first. And I always tell people to focus hyper-local. Things in Washington are not going our way, which is the biggest understatement I'm probably going to make today. However, locally, school boards, city councils, dog catcher, who's in charge of your local water and sewer authorities, those things really matter. But other than that, I mean, getting involved in our kids' schools every single day, contributing to our local HBCUs, going and shopping at our small businesses are things that we have control over. And I always find hope because Dr. King said, only when it's darkest can you see the stars. Yeah. And it's an extremely dark time in our country.
Now, let me ask you, your father, Cleveland Sellers Jr., was the only person jailed after the Orangeburg massacre. And if you don't know about the Orangeburg massacre, You got to look it up. It's your father's a hero. He was wrongly convicted while the police who opened fire went free. It's just an amazing story. But how does that injustice shape the way you see today's fight over justice, racism, and even Trump sending troops into American cities?
You know, I tell people often that I'm angry about what happened February 8th, 1968, because my father is. I think most children kind of carry that pain of their parents and what their parents went through. What it means for me is that I cannot stop this journey until we're free. And the unique part about freedom is that I can't be free until we all are free. And so I want a community in a country where Sadie and Stokely can be free to worship where they want to worship and love how they want to love and be able to go out and achieve all of their dreams without being held back because somebody thinks DEI is a bad word or somebody has a hard time with the way that my kids look. So that's what I mean by just having that freedom. And we're a long way. You know, my dad thinks that we are back where we were before Brown versus the Board of Education. And for somebody who's lived through Emmett Till and Jimmy Lee Jackson and the assassination of King and all of those things, to think that we're back in 1954, I mean, that's a heavy indictment on where we are as a country.
Yeah, and he's not wrong. I wouldn't disagree with him. Bakari, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about these states that are tied up in these redistricting battles. How much power do you think, real quick, do these new maps have to shape this next election coming up in 26?
I mean, I think that's the brightest thing. I think that Democrats have a unique opportunity to take back the House, regardless of what happens in California, New York, or Texas. I know my good friend in Westmore is going through that battle internally right now about whether or not he's going to redistrict in Maryland for one extra seat. But I mean, look, you know, you can try to change the rules in the middle of the game, but if we don't do something, if Democrats don't do something to energize black folk, and let me be very honest with you all, to energize black men, to get black men back on board, I think the problem with black men is that we talk to black men too much instead of listening to them. I'm in a barbershop right now, and just listening to black men and the conversations we're having, people want to talk to us just about criminal justice reform, when I'm like, you got to look at us as a whole person. We're in here talking about how to get our kids educated, how to provide for our families, how to start new small businesses. But black men are probably going to be central to what happens next November. I mean, you can hear me now, or we have another 2 years of being, in the doldrums of darkness because we have Republican-led leadership.
Wow, man. I really appreciate this conversation. So, Bakari, let everybody know how you can be reached, how they can contact you, and how they can get your book.
Yeah, man. Follow me on Instagram, Bakari Sellers. You'll see a lot of family stuff, a lot of CNN stuff. Follow me on YouTube, Bakari Sellers. I got my own YouTube page. Follow Sadie and Stokely's YouTube page. My son wants to be a content creator. I don't know what that means, but it is what it is. I'm cool with it as long as it ain't OnlyFans. It is what it is.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
So, I am just excited, man, and tune in. Follow me on Twitter, man. Tune in every night you can on CNN. And I'm thankful for you, Rickey, because, you are a beacon of light, and you do this really well, and you give us a lot of hope. So thank you for having me on.
Nah, man, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. And we look forward to talking to you again, ladies and gentlemen. Bakari Sellers, y'all, more Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
Thank you.
Coming up.